Welcome. We are having some newbie problems. I've never had guests on Restream before, so this is exciting to learn new things. Ani will be joining us in just a couple minutes. So welcome, Gila. It's so much fun to do this with you a second time. And I don't know who's interviewing who or if we're just having a discussion. So I don't know if you saw the title that I gave to this, which is Gog and Magog, Spiritual Warfare and Provocative Truths. Do you want to say anything about that?
I'm ready. I love it. I mean, you and I were talking at like 4 a.m. because I was having
your time, 4 a.m.
Yeah. What time is it for you now?
It's 3 p.m.
Okay.
A little after 3. Yeah.
I was having download after download, and it was just, I had to share it with somebody. I was so happy you were there.
So do you want to share anything with people?
I would love to. Is it okay to go there where we went together this morning?
I guess. I mean, maybe that's not the place to start. Maybe we should wait a few minutes and lead up to that. And by the way, I don't know who's on, but feel free to share with us. And please, please be like, please help me figure out how to use this platform. So I really want to interact with you guys and know where you are and what's important for you. And I'm sure Gila does too. I do not know, by the way, I mean, for example, where this border came from. All of a sudden, we're surrounded by this weird picture of hearts and flowers, and I'll have to figure it out later. So I hope it's not too distracting. Let's mention what we were talking about, and then maybe we can just start a little bit with the idea of a spiritual war and what's happening.
Sure. I just want to put are you live on YouTube right now? Is that where we are?
Yeah. Can you also
want to do that?
Great.
Let me just find. Oh, I see us. Whoop.
Anna's coming in now. She says, so I'll watch for her.
I'm going to share this to Facebook.
Yeah, I'm streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, but
cool.
I don't think I'm going to stream live on Telegram yet, but I think some.
Okay, let's share that. We have 4 people watching. That's pretty good. Let's share this again. It's my Telegram. Let's share that. We have 4 people watching. That's pretty good.
There are 14 people watching from what I can see, but that might not be counting your Telegram, your YouTube channel. So I don't know where Ani is. I just got off WhatsApp. Sorry, guys. Learning in real time.
Yep.
I used to feel like everything had to be perfect. Literally.
Oh, it's a hard way to live.
It's horrible. And it's been,
it's a lot of undoing.
Here comes Ani. Hey. All right. We're just figuring it out as we go.
I'm having some shaitel issues, but all right, fine.
That's worse than technical issues.
Can you guys see the chat? Can you see the chat that I can see?
I see the chat. Mashiach now. Good morning. So excited to see the 3 of you. Karen Lewis, EF.
That's it. So listen, I think I'm speaking to anybody who's watching. It's really, really, really important for you to get involved. I mean, for me, it's really important to have you get involved so that we know. I don't want to talk at people. It's not the time to talk at people. It's the time to, for Brain to talk with people. So please participate and share and ask questions. And if something rubs you the wrong way, or if it rubs you the right way, or you want to know more. Anyway, okay, you guys. So how do we start? Gog and Magog, spiritual warfare, provocative truths. Jump right in.
That's not a loaded statement.
I have so many provocative truths right now. I'm just waiting for you to let me go.
Okay, go. Green light.
Go.
Okay, so the provocative truth that I'm going to start, I already voice noted all of this to you, Shifra, this morning, but I'm going to start with what I told you. That maybe 2 years ago, I saw an interview with Charlie Rose and Morgan Freeman. And Charlie says to Morgan Freeman, so how are we supposed to end racism? And because they were talking about the Black History Month. And he's like, you want your history relegated to a month? No, thank you. And it was just so fresh to hear that kind of talk. And he said to him, so how are we supposed to end racism? And he said, stop talking about it. Just like that, point blank. You just stop talking about it. And then I remembered all of the 10 years of manifestation recordings and books that I've read. He's right. And then I realized it held a mirror to me. I saw with the BLM movement how that held a mirror to my face of how Jews are doing the same thing with anti-Semitism. That's provocative. Are you
Keep
guys
going.
provoked? Okay,
Yeah,
because
keep it up.
no, because we have the same victimhood narrative every time we cry anti-Semitism, and Jews get pissed when you say that. My mother gets angry when I say that because you're not supposed to be the Uncle Tom of the Jewish people. You're not supposed to say it's enough talking about anti-Semitism because that keeps us stuck there. We need to stop talking about it. We need to honor what we went through. Listen, I wear my grandparents' Auschwitz numbers on my wrist every day, but I honor what they went through, but I think they themselves wouldn't want me talking about it every day. It's enough of the suffering dialogue, and it's time to come into the empowerment dialogue.
Yeah.
And I realized that I saw this on your interview, Shifra, with Kaylee, where she said she was sick for so many years, and she said every excuse for not going places I didn't want to go, I'd say, sorry, I can't make it because I'm sick. And she said, every time I said, because I'm sick, my body heard me say that and manifested that for me, did me the favor of manifesting that for me. So every time we say, Jewish people say, we're oppressed, we're hunted, whatever we're saying, when we continue the discourse of anti-Semitism, we're manifesting it in the Jewish collective. And I want to just bring this out so more of us can hear this and say,
oh, it's so important. Thank you for saying this. Yes.
You get it. So one more thing, and I just want to say that it's just so many epiphany after epiphany that I understood for the first time in COVID who the real enemy is. It's not like lateral. It's
Agree.
It's a pyramid, and they laugh at us down here fighting with each other. And what they do is because they know we are the creator beings, we have the spark of God, that they use us and use our imaginations to manifest.
Oh my God, yes.
Down here. So I say, not for another minute on our watch, the Geula Doulas, are they going to hijack my consciousness to talk about and look at Hollywood and look at the Holocaust documentaries? There's a million of them. Why? To keep it alive in our consciousness, to keep us terrified.
It's a weak position. It's a super weak position.
This reminds me. Oh yes, go ahead.
I'm sorry that I'm done. I'm just ranting. And then
keep going.
You're not ranting. You're just full of.
You're streaming. You're live streaming from your source of life.
I'm live streaming. Oh gosh, hold on.
You're live streaming.
I was going to say, give me 1 second to remember. The Holocaust. Oh, so we know who the enemy is now. Hold on, I forgot what I was going to say. Give me 1 second.
They were using our imaginations to make us manifest the darkness. That's what you were up to.
Hold on.
Because we have the spark of God. Yeah.
Can you hold on 1 second? Because I made myself notes at 4 a.m. that I wanted to touch back.
Excuse me. Will it disturb your thought if I say something while you're looking at your notes?
Please go ahead.
No, so I just want to say what you're saying is really, really powerful, and it doesn't just apply to Jews and anti-Semitism. The dark forces are using all of our fears and all of our prejudices, biases, divisiveness, traumas to pit us against each other so we don't see who the real enemy is, and that is without any doubt whatsoever.
It's the game. It's the game.
Things have been engineered such that victimhood is the hottest currency when truly our souls have come to step into their power.
Yeah.
Ani, I tell you, we all have to stop loving the dopamine hit we get from crying anti-Semitism.
Yeah, it's the emotional masturbation.
Yes! Oh, provocative!
I mean, we have to call it out, but I feel like, and this has been the message of the Chabad Rebbeim from the beginning, especially the Rebbe, of empowerment. And it reminds me of, we're coming up to Pesach now, that there was like a movement, there was like this empty chair movement. I don't know at what point, it was probably 50s, 60s-ish time, where people to honor the memory of those lost in the Holocaust, there was like this movement that we're going to leave an empty chair at the Seder. And the Rebbe said, no, you're going to fill that chair with somebody who otherwise wouldn't have been at a Seder. And so that is precisely the paradigm shift that we're still working on stepping into, but I really think we're there. But like, again, we can't we have to call it out, but we can't call it out and be like, boo hoo. We have to call it and be like, ew, that's gross. Look how powerful I am.
Yeah, I see it even, I mean, I agree with both of you, and I would take it maybe a little farther, like moving to Israel and seeing, like having grown up hearing this expression, never again, and then seeing how people keep making the same mistakes, keep taking the same victim stance while they say never again. It really made me think. And I think I would take it even beyond calling it out with power. I do think that we need to be in dialogue with people and not tacitly agree with things that are wrong, that are harmful. But I also think that the main thing to do is to shine the light. Like,
Yeah.
there's something very deep. Again, you know, I'm getting in your presence, the two of you, and I'm starting to, and it's like my mind wants me, my mind is saying talk, and I'm like, should I really? Maybe I shouldn't. But the truth is, should I do it?
Do it.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, praying that this comes out correctly. But you know, there's, on a deep level, the Jewish souls, the souls of Israel, are here with a mission. Everybody's here with a mission. Everybody's mission has to do with God, has to do with redemption, has to do with these times. But the Jewish souls are the souls of Israel, let's say. That collective is here to carry the Torah, to incubate the Torah in all possible situations of adversity and opportunity until the time has come for the world to share it, for us to share it with the world. And that is our job now. And the trauma is keeping us down. And this fear-based, you know, this, as you say, you know, crying anti-Semitism is keeping us down even further, because then we stay in a victim position when actually we're meant to rise to a leadership position. And so is everybody. But we're speaking here at this moment specifically about the Jews and the Torah, and we are meant to shine the light of Torah into the world and the light of truth into the world. So what is provocative for me, what I'm like, again, haven't ever said publicly, a lot of things are coming out the last couple of days I've never said publicly, but I do think that on an unconscious level, the world is mad, whether they know it or not, really angry, because we're not doing what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And what we're supposed to be doing is sharing Torah in an uncompromised and really brilliantly illuminating way. The Torah is for everyone. People have different mitzvahs, you know, Jews and non-Jews, but the Torah is for everyone, and some of them overlap. The redemption is for everyone. God is for everyone. There's only one. So I feel that I've thought a lot about this, that to the degree that we don't step up and take our new role, to the degree that we're still wed to the trauma of the past, and people are trying to keep us there, that's the degree to which the world might be actually unconsciously frustrated with us, because we're not stepping up to who we're meant to be now.
To our responsibility to the world.
Yeah.
And this is one of the big things, is the concept of what it means to be like chosen. Well, just by dint of being created, everybody is chosen. But what we were chosen for was a responsibility. It wasn't, you know, we were chosen for a responsibility to be, as Shifra, as you said, the like through every possible circumstance and adversity and opportunity, to keep God consciousness alive in some way until the time would come that the world would be ready for it, which the Rebbe told us already 30 years ago, and even before then, that the world was ready and they're waiting for us. The Rebbe said Esav, you know, essentially, you know, the Western world, the non-Jewish world is ready and is waiting for Yaakov, his brother, us, to be ready to step out of the victimhood and to be ready to step out of the cultural tropes of what it means to be Jewish, and actually into what it really means, which is to be one who connects everyone and everything else with their infinite source. So we were chosen for a massive response with the Torah. Yes, we were chosen for a massive responsibility. And anybody who's going to take that and abuse it and to mean I'm better than, like, okay, so they're clearly manifesting the dark version of that, which is not the truth. But it's a massive responsibility, and anyone who understands that takes their responsibility to all of mankind seriously.
Yeah, and it does mean, I think, really, like so many people have said to me in the last few days, I can't believe you're so brave as to get out there. I think there's a collective trauma. I don't, again, think it's only Jews. I think that everybody who's illuminated, and maybe call a light worker, everybody who has something to share with the world, who is sensitive, caring, wants to make a difference, wants the world to be different than it is, knows it should be different. I think many of us were traumatized in past lives, deeply traumatized for stepping up. So that makes it scary. And for the Jews as a collective, it's happened again and again and again and again and again.
No,
Right.
I got a question for you too. Is it possible for a Jewish soul to incarnate into different religions in different lifetimes?
Of course.
Yeah.
If it weren't, then there would be no such thing as a convert.
Right.
So many Jewish souls are incarnated as in other traditions. So many.
That's interesting. I had once learned that once you're a Jewish soul, you're always in every lifetime a Jewish soul. So that is not actually.
Well, you're always a Jewish soul, but that doesn't mean you come into a Jewish body and psyche. So that it's generally in Kabbalah, it's generally understood that's a kapara for something, because basically you're incarnating into an operating system that's not fitting to express you and your mission, and that's painful and challenging for the soul. And I can vouch for that as my lived conscious experience this time around. Like literally went through that consciously, and then retroactively had the vocabulary and the map of reality to understand what I had actually gone through. But we'll talk about that another time.
Yeah, I actually heard from two different rabbis, very respected rabbis. One, that there are Torah opinions that eventually, when the Gila's, I don't know what point, like Yitzchak Ginsburg said, whoever's left, there's an opinion that says that that everybody will be Jewish.
Which means that their spark of godliness will have integrated so much, because Jewishness means how much is your spark of it means how Jewishness means how much of your godly life force spark is totally integrated with your psyche and your consciousness. That's what Jewishness is.
Wait a second.
In its essence. Not always in its manifestation.
Right. Yeah. You never heard that?
I'm sorry, Anya. I know I always do this too. I need a minute to sit with that. What is a Jew? Can I say it over to you to see if I got it? We're doula-ing here a minute. What I understood is that everyone has the potential to say I'm a Jew once their God consciousness comes online. Is that what you're saying?
You want to answer?
Well, I'm going to say, and then you can finish. Okay. In alignment with Torah, the only way that spark for somebody who came into the world halachically as a non-Jew to really become integrated and aligned would be through halachic conversion in accordance with Torah.
At this point in history, we don't know what will be in the future.
We don't exactly, but at this point in history, that is the pathway for a Jewish spark to fully manifest if they incarnated into a non-Jewish Kaylee.
Right. But you're saying what did Rabbi Ginsburg say? That the potential exists in the future, that it's just a matter of
listen, we started out with one person, right? We started out with Adam, and Adam God blew his essence into his soul, his light from his essence into Adam. And then we split off. In the first 2,000 years of history, according to Torah, there was no such thing as Jew. There were people, but there was also no Torah, and the world perverted itself. That's the 2,000 years of chaos, and ultimately ended up with Noah's flood. And then Noah had these three sons, and one of them became the progenitor of the Jewish lineage, starting with Abraham, not to go into the whole history. So we split off. Why? Because it seems to me that God created the human. Well, once Adam and Eve ate from the tree of knowledge, they integrated the snake energy, and the snake is the cosmic nuclear source of evil. So that evil source takes a lot of work and a lot of iterations to soften and to transmute. It really has tremendous light in it inside the darkness, but it's covered by evil. That's a core principle. So it seems like the flood was necessary to wipe out the bulk, the most coarse part of that snake evil. And then the few chosen, just Noah and his wife and the three sons and their wives, they were left to regenerate humanity. Everybody who lives is a descendant of Noah. That's why we have the 7 laws of Noah, because everyone is a descendant of Noah, or B'nai Noah, children of Noah. So it seems like we split off so that certain souls could be chosen. Certain souls that were chosen were, I guess, imprinted with the power of incredible unconditional loyalty to the mission, whereas other souls took a different role. Because you have to have incredible unconditional loyalty to the mission and to God in order to stand up against the amount of persecution and the brutality of the persecution that the Jewish people as a collective have stood up against. But that doesn't mean that at the core, anything got lost from Adam's original soul. Everybody has that. But right now we're playing different roles, in some cases opposing roles still, and in some cases, that I see in my work more and more and more. I mean, many of my students are enlightened non-Jews who want to learn Torah, who want to be part of Gila, part of the Jewish mission. The Torah is all about that. But there's a continuum between the opponent of the divine mission to the total loyalist who's bound by contract. That would be the Jew. And people are invited to move along that spectrum. And that's called, the first step is to keep the 7 laws of Noah, which are the laws that allow for a sustainable and habitable world, according to the Rebbe. And then we can move forward from there if people want to. They can develop far deeper relationship with God, the Torah, and the Jewish mission. But you can't, right now we live within the boundaries of halacha, of Jewish law, Torah law. That's what Ani's saying. And so it's a wild out there. It's a wild mess out there. You have all kinds of people claiming from all different perspectives, trying to claim Judaism and Torah as their own. I froze. Do you guys see me?
Yes, you're
I
good.
still see you. Yeah.
You froze, David. My husband said you froze. You never know who's the one who froze. So anyway, I think to keep the distinctions at this point even we're at a critical time in so many ways. But one of the ways is that instead of killing us off for keeping Torah and spreading Torah, more and more people want to learn Torah from us. So, and more people have access to Torah. It's in every language. It's available in every medium, in every language, which never happened before, like 20, 30 years ago. It's new. So the lines are there. There's what's called unikas aklipas. There are all kinds of forces that are trying to take the light of this relationship, this several thousand-year relationship of unconditional connection between the Jews and the Torah and the divine mission, to take it and warp it. Some are knowingly, some not knowingly. So we have to be very careful about the lines while being totally inclusive and embracing of people who are sincere.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's too esoteric or too complicated, but I think it's a little bit of a complicated, tricky subject. Like I've seen people come onto my summit sometimes and start talking about how the Jews aren't the real Jews. And I hear people in the Patriot movement saying that too, a lot. Oh, the Ashkenazim aren't the real Jews. They're the, whatever.
I'm sorry. That's the whole thing about like Ashkenazi Jews, because like the word Nazi is in there and
is
like
it?
people think like, oh, Ashkenazim. It is the most uninformed. I'm just gonna say it, guys. I'm sorry. It is the most idiotic, embarrassing thing ever. It is so embarrassing that these people who are like, oh, these big like gurus and experts on what's going on in the world don't know what an effing Ashkenazi Jew is. It's a Jew of Eastern European descent. Stop pretending it's something else or it's some like guys. It's embarrassing. It's literally embarrassing.
Well, I say it's like you're taking a word from one language, it's what is it? It's not Hebrew Ashkenaz. It's
German.
It's Aramaic, I think.
Isn't it German? Is it Aramaic?
I think Ashkenaz is
I think it's Aramaic. I think it
they're making it into German. They're like Nazi is the National Socialist Party. It's an acronym. So it's just stupid to like mix up.
Oh my, it's embarrassing. And then the amount of people who parrot this, I'm like, you brains online, please, people. It's embarrassing. I remember one time it's exactly like I remember one time I was telling somebody about like the Shema, the prayer that we say, and I said the word echad and they're like, that sounds like jihad, and I'm like, it's 2 different languages with 2 different meanings. Please stop the emotional vomiting and use the brain. And that's what we're doing right now in history. It's the tikkun on the Chabad. It's the moichin, waking up our brains and start thinking and stop reacting. Come on. It's embarrassing. It's so embarrassing.
Can I say another thing? I checked my notes. I wanted to say one more thing. So just to clarify, this also came into focus for me over the past year when I understood who the real enemy is, that what they do, they hide inside the Jewish people. This is the Erev Rav, right? And what they do is their favorite tactic is to cry anti-Semitism. It's their Teflon protective coating where it bounces off. Like they do their evil in under whatever umbrella organization that they're acting under. And then Hollywood and the banking, whatever it is, that, and then if someone comes against them, they cry anti-Semitism, and that is the universal protector. So when we do that, when Jewish people do that, and maybe justifiably so, we become indistinguishable from them because we're crying the same battle cry that they're crying. So that's another reason for Jewish people to stop crying. It's in addition to the separate reason for it's disempowering, and it's attracting the wrong collective reality. It's manifesting the wrong reality, and it's hijacking our consciousness. In addition to that, it makes us clumped in with them who use that tactic. So that's a very important thing to remember. Also, when you cry anti-Semitism, you are using the wrong tactic.
Kim is just quoting Bereshit, Genesis, on the origin of the word Ashkenaz. Thanks. I guess it's right from the Chumash.
Yeah, it's one of the sons of somebody, of Noah.
Gomer.
Yeah.
Gomer. It says. Yeah, so the Rebbe talks about this, and I'm glad it just came to my mind in a discourse on the portion of Balak from 1963. Those of you who are interested, like 18 of Likutei Sichas Balak Daled. Anyway, the Rebbe talks there about he talks about the prophecy of Micha that is coming true now in this time, and he said, and the prophecy says that the remnants of Jacob, of Yaakov, will be surrounded by many nations to the point where they won't be able to put their help in humans or to trust in man. And the Rebbe talks about this as a catalyst for spiritual transformation so that we connect with God on a deeper level called Soviv Kol Almin. I'm not going to talk about it right now, but and versus Mamali Kol Almin. In other words, we're co-creating. The switch that we're meant to make now is to become aligned with God in co-creating reality beyond the laws of nature, which I think you're really speaking to in a macro way, Gila. But the Rebbe says there very, very explicitly in so many words that at this time, this prophecy is talking about a time when there will be evil, not just outside of the Jewish people, but within the Jewish people themselves. And an evil so great, I'm quoting the Rebbe more or less word for word, that we will need siyua milmaila, we'll need divine help to get rid of it. And then he goes on to quote how God says, I will uproot your idols, I will uproot your Asherah tree, whatever. But the point is that this is part of the Jewish people. Just like every person, every human being other than the great tzaddikim have within them what we call the Yetzer Hara. It's a piece of the enemy of the Samach Man, the Satan, that snake that's been incorporated into our psyche. Why? You can't transform what you don't own. So
oh my
the fact
God.
that every human being has a piece of evil within our beings, that's our mission. That doesn't make us intrinsically evil. Well, maybe there are people that are intrinsically evil, but as far as I know, the only absolutely unredeemable evil is Amalek. I can't say who that is.
The Frierdiker Rebbe actually says in Rishis Goyim Amalek that if we bring the Geula like before its set time, that Amalek also will be transformed to good.
Oh, okay. I had not seen that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean that we don't stand against evil. We have to stand against evil. We have to stand against our own evil. And I'm not comparing any of us to mass murderers in any way, shape, or form. Please don't misunderstand that. While everybody here is essentially a really good, decent, even illuminated and wonderful person with flaws. But the point is, I don't think we can say that. I don't believe at all that we can say that because someone is evil, that means they're not Jewish. And I think that in line with what you're saying, Gila, to own, I remember when when Muslim terror was like the big, huge issue in the world. It's still an issue, but it seemed much more on the news. And people were really, 9/11, whatever, people were outraged that the Muslim nations were not condemning the terrorists among them. And that made people feel like it's all of them. So the same thing here. I think we need to identify, we need to self-identify. Yeah, not every Jew is illuminated. There are some Jews who are really, really bad, doing really, really bad things. And hopefully, hopefully it'll all come out in the wash. There are also other people who are really, really bad.
Right.
And doing really, really bad things.
Just to add to what you said, if you're going to heal anything in your psyche, it has to be localized and named. That's why we have to call out. It has to be. If people come to you and they can't tell me which tooth is hurting, I can't help them. You have to really put a parameter on it. And now that we know the differences, we know the past 2 years, my whole life I went not knowing who this invisible enemy at the top of the pyramid.
But are you saying that you think the Erev Rav is at the very top of the pyramid?
I do.
Of all humanity?
I do. I think that I think that this is the Amalek. If we don't know who Amalek is, I think this is the first time we ever really knew. It's this
They're
reptilian.
scattered. Yeah, the Erev Rav, it's literally the mixed multitude. So there's all types of klipa within the Erev Rav, and so they're scattered all throughout the different tiers. But for sure, for sure, it's concentrated at the top.
Absolutely.
So if you're saying that, you have to be saying that Jews control the world.
I'm saying that this infiltrate. I'm saying that. See, I kind of a little bit disagree because I've heard. I don't know what the source is, but I've heard that you have to be a Baishan, a Rahman, and a Gomay Chasadim, which means you have to have kindness, shame, and Baishan. What did I just say? Kindness, shame,
learned, and Torah shy, like not running after honor and kind.
Yeah. So if you don't have those three characteristics, I don't think you can call yourself a Jew. Just like the reverse of what Ani said before, that you can maybe in the future call yourself a Jew by bringing that spark of yourself online. I don't think a Jew can call themselves a Jew if they're not kind. What are the three again? I just said them. Baishan,
Lamdan.
No, not Lamdan. That's not.
Yeah, it is Lamdan. I'm almost positive it is.
Rahmanas Baishan and Gemalas Chasadim.
Rahman. Oh, sorry, I'm wrong then.
Yeah.
Kindness.
No, well, the thing is that you still have the halachic and technical spiritual identity of a Jew, but are you manifesting what you're supposed to be? No. You're not in alignment with what you're actually supposed to be, with the potential that you've been given. Because the thing is that when I was talking before about how integrated is your spark of godliness, that for a person who is halachically born a Jew, that spark is integrated, but the field that's meant to express it may be horrifically warped by klipa filters. So that would be the case with any member of the Erev Rav that actually is Jewish. Their soul is like so out of the conscious picture, even though that spark is there, it's the field of the conscious personality that's meant to express it and align with it is just horrifically warped and distorted.
Right. So are they still considered a Jew? The question is,
if they are considered a Jew, that's what Ani's saying. But you know what?
I'm saying, like, where is that source of those three criteria? Do you guys know?
Those are not. That's not halachic criteria. Yeah. The only halachic criteria is that you're born from a halachically Jewish mother or converted to halacha. Those are like if you're really showing up as a Jew in the world. Those are the.
Okay.
That's how God describes the natural nature. Yeah, the conscious nature of a Jew. When a Jew is conscious, like we all have our conscious side and our unconscious side. But you know what? You're making me think. I'm thinking that there is something to this, although I want to be very careful about it, because who would dare to make overt war against God? Who would dare to make, although, you see in the Torah, Balak and Bilam and, people did, but they didn't make overt war against God. They tried to co-opt the Jews and get the Jews to do things that would make God upset so that they could take down the Jews. And that's how they took down God. So I guess
hijack the consciousness.
Maybe it is the Erev Rav. Maybe it is the Erev Rav that is a Jew, but a very unconscious, distorted, warped.
So the Erev Rav, according to
God, that dares to fight directly war against God.
Literally, the Arizal says that the Erev Rav is the Sigim and which means like the spiritual waste and the darkness of Moshe Rabbeinu's soul. I literally just read this in Shara Pesukim. It's the darkest aspects of the deepest unconscious of the collective soul of Moshe, essentially. It's like the Sigim, Moses. The Sigim, which means the spiritual waste, and there was one other term. But basically like the deepest. What'd you say?
Solit?
No, I can look. I have the Sefer right here. Let me actually look it up. But it's from the Arizal and Shara Pesukim. You guys can keep talking while I look it up. I want to see.
So exactly. I just personally find it, extremely, like we were collectively tortured throughout every generation. And yes, there was a fifth column that assisted with that in some cases. But, a few things I want to say about Erev Rav. You can't, in most cases, you can't point a finger at somebody and say, you're from the Erev Rav, because they're directly from the converts of the Egyptians into the Jewish nation at the time of the Exodus. We're all mixed together. We've all been mixed together, and we all have who has in the tiniest bit of desire to like rebel, or is hedonistic, or hates others, or whatever. We all have these are spiritual, energetic qualities that we all have. Then there are people that more strongly represent those qualities, and to the point where you could say,
people who are being unwittingly moved by the Erev Rav energy.
Yes.
Who are unconscious, or who are like deeply unconscious, or who have, impurified themselves like so much that they become susceptible to being moved by the Erev Rav energy. But it's the Sigim and the Zuhama, it says.
Zuhama. Emmet just said that. Zuhama. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the Sigim and the Zuhama. Yeah.
What does it mean? Zuhama means
so
what?
the Sigim is the spiritual waste materials, and Zuhama is like a. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. I didn't hear you talk.
I was just going to say this, and the Sigim is like the spiritual like waste materials, and then the Zuhama is like a deeply like infiltrated like impurity that comes from the snake that we're in the process of expelling that poison of the snake now.
But everybody, I am not okay with letting everybody off the hook. Like every human being here, the same way I would say the Torah is for everyone, Geula is for everyone, God is for everyone. I embrace everyone who's sincere. That is the same exact way I would say everyone is responsible for their choice of good or evil, not the Jews.
Oh yeah, we got to do the work.
To be responsible for every human being, and you know what? Stand up. If you have caused damage, if you come from a culture that's caused damage, okay, we're all individually responsible. I don't believe in. I don't like that whole collective idea, but still, if there's something in your culture, if there's something in your upbringing that causes Jew hatred or any kind of hatred or God hatred or, anything that is destructive, stand up and take care of it. You're responsible. So I'm not going to, even though, I could quietly say, yes, there is something to the idea that the carriers of the Torah have certain power and need to use it for the good and can be using it for the ill, and in some cases are. I'm not going to say that exempts everybody else, though, especially those who have persecuted us, burned us at the stake, tortured us, cooked, burned in up. The history is packed every generation, and we sing about this. So. On Pesach, Yehisha Amda, like they stood up against us in every generation. Yeah, I saw a picture of a woman from the Holocaust sitting at a table with her children with a half of a non-kosher salami in front of her, dead, like they didn't eat it, because that was the level of unconditional connection and self-sacrifice that is also part of the Jewish people. So it makes sense. There's a principle in Hasidus that says, or a parable that says, that the stone that's on the top of the wall will fall farthest from the wall if it's pushed over. This is a quality of intimate God connection that can be used for the most amazing things in the world and can be used for the worst thing in the world, because the closer you are to God, the more you feel you can, be an ally or an enemy, which is as crazy it is to say. And I think we have to see the entire, this is my stance. We have to see the entirety of humanity, and each human being is self-responsible. We can look at these archetypes, but the problem is that the people who still are into hating on Jews, the problem is that they're not looking at archetypes and trying to separate. They're looking to incite hatred, and that is a problem. And I'm not taking the rap. And I'm not going to sign on to that's the Jews. Not even that's the Erev Rav. Even if we talk about it, and even if that quality, we could say something about that, that doesn't make the enemies. That doesn't make Jew haters.
So Shifra, how do you hold both realities in one hand? Where you're saying we're all inclusive, we include everyone as a Jew, but yet I'm not part of that group you're talking about. How do you do that?
We have to hold multiple realities in our consciousness. Right. That is the only way to answer anything.
It's so important to call out the evil. That is for
you
this
can call out the evil, but if you label like this is that part of the Jews, they're not really Jewish. That's what I have an issue with. You want to say they're Jewish, distorting the mission.
Right.
And we Jews are standing up here and we're shining the light of the Torah to everybody, and we are devoted as much as we can, imperfectly everyone needs to grow, to work on ourselves, to get rid of our own inner Erev Rav, our own inner Amalek, our own inner opposition, our own inner traumatized victim. Then that I can completely agree with them. That's what I stand for. It's when we separate off, I think we need a little more dialogue, and we're all going to have a much clearer, including me, understanding of how this all fits together. We're just playing with we're doing, we're playing with the puzzle pieces here. But the problem that I have been stating is you can't separate off someone. You cannot define Judaism right now. Judaism, the Torah is the ultimate arbiter. You can't define a Jew by your preference, by their character, by their performance. You can have a horrible evil Jew, and you can have a wonderful, righteous, unbelievable, supernaturally good Jew, and likewise other people. So we are meant to be a light to the nations, and our, we show up very, very big. And some people have an issue with this too, that we show up very big in every kind of enterprise. So if you have the, people leading every movement, whether it's a good movement or a bad movement, because the nature of the Jewish soul is change the world. Just happens to be that some Jewish souls are doing it in exactly the wrong way. And most of us are like in between. We don't know what we're doing,
Well,
and that's what part of
we shouldn't say real Jew or fake Jew. We shouldn't say
no.
Yes,
There's only right, exactly. But like Shifra said, the Torah is the only arbiter of what a Jew actually is. So if you're halakhically a Jew, you're a Jew, and we have to be mature enough to say that, like, yeah, of course, like, yeah, technically we're all Jews, and we don't need Jew to mean something good or something bad. It's a technical definition of a spiritual state and a spiritual reality. And some people who carry that soul, they're operating in a horrific warped field.
Look, I'm sure you guys, probably everybody here has seen, or if you haven't, you can look them up, like bios of people who were terrorists, who thought that they were Muslim or whatever, who actually murdered Jews and then found out that they were Jewish. Yeah. And then did tshuva, meaning they returned to their roots and they became completely transformed and did everything possible to try to make up for what they had done before. And that every person has that capacity. And that's also the point, that when we say this is the bad one and we're the good ones, besides that we're collective, and that's not so good for us. That's like saying, oh, my left hand, I don't like it. It's not really part of me. Only my right hand. That's not how we reach our wholeness. But also, ultimately, we're here to bring ourselves and the whole world to tshuva, to as Ani says, to our integrated, activated God consciousness. So when we see how far that God consciousness can fall, till it's like Moses and Pharaoh. Like, you could say that the quality of the Erev, and they were Egyptians or people studying black magic, occult arts in Egypt, and became part of the Jewish people. What is Pharaoh? What's the difference between Moses and Pharaoh? Moses is like, we learn he was the most humble man in the world, although he was a king. He talked to God face to face, the ultimate leader. That's a paradox. But Pharaoh was like, I'm God. There's no other God. So you find that in integrating the Erev into the Jewish people, we have Moses consciousness and Pharaoh consciousness inside of us. And every one of us has it. And that's the soul versus the ego. So we have it in a mini way, in a gentle way, in a compassionate, kind, and what was the other word? And humble way. If we're, some of the time, more than maybe, certainly more than the head of
Pfizer.
Yeah, whatever. But it's the same. It's in a very micro level. It's the same quality. The Rebbes that's known about the Rebbes, that when people would go in to see them in private audience, they would have to clothe themselves in that person's character qualities and consciousness. And there was a story of somebody who went into the Rebbe. I'm sure it's happened more than once. Long story short, that the Rebbe could not give him a blessing that he asked for until the Rebbe could find some way to identify with the impurity and sin of that person. Because you cannot heal somebody if you can't relate to them.
Wow.
Same with Erev Rav. Yeah, this is really important.
Yeah.
And same with Jew and non-Jew, like these divisions, we play different roles, like there are different parts and organs in the body. Does that mean that the body doesn't need all its organs? Every soul who's here in a body right now is absolutely hand-chosen to be part of this collective mission. And absolutely. We do have a role. There is a particular, focus on Jews, but it's warped because we're not conscious enough to use it for what it really is. Because, I do again believe that people unconsciously, and God is like pushing us, like, get out and do what you're supposed to do. Otherwise, they're going to hate on you. So shining our light, I think, is the biggest thing. And then recognizing that we have some piece of this in us, even if we would never show it on the outside or even think it on the inside, but it's still there. It's still there. If I get pushed hard enough, I'll hurt somebody's feelings, usually it's my husband, or, whatever. if
Join
I'm,
the
you know,
club.
okay, that's a little Erev Rav right there, you know?
Mean, can get mean. I have to go in 2 minutes. Can I tell you one other deep thought I had at 4 a.m.?
Yeah.
And it's probably so basic for you guys, but it hit me in such a way. It was like lightning. So I think Shavuot time last year, I had this epiphany that God is a frequency. And that was huge for me because I'm coming from Beis Yaakov where God was a mean king. And then I'm like, oh, God is not even in a body. He's like in the air. He's a frequency. He's a bandwidth. So just to understand that. And then this morning, I'm like, okay, so if God is this frequency in the air and he's like seeking a similar frequency, he's looking for warm bodies to jump into with this aligned frequency. So the more, isn't that good? It just hit me in such
That's
a
really
way
sweet.
that I understood for the first time that if I can be like love and above on the emotional spectrum, if I can elevate myself through my thoughts and emotions, the coherence, as Dr. Joe Dispenza says, if I can get my heart and mind coherence to this frequency where I can be a warm body, like a waiting receptacle for God's frequency, like that's it. I just want to share with you guys.
That's beautiful. I would also add though that, you know, God is love and kindness. God is also might, discipline, and truth. So
Yeah,
you know,
baby.
there
They
again,
don't
you
call
got
me a
in
truther for
one place
nothing.
at once. What?
They don't call me a truther for nothing.
There you go.
God, I know it's God. When I'm speaking my crazy truth, it's not from me.
So somebody's asking what we can do in a physical kind of way. Anybody want to speak to that before we have to go? We all have to go like in a minute or two.
I do have one answer I would love to share. I actually wrote a chapter in my book about this. It's called Do All Things with Love. And I saw it in a restaurant somewhere in Albany when I was with my daughter. And I took a picture because it was a watershed moment. I was like, there was no going back after I saw this because I'm like, what does that mean? Do all things with love. It means that's the mission. Whatever your specific, I'm going to work now. I'm drilling on teeth. If I do that with love, that's my mission. Whatever you're doing, if you're a garbage man, whatever task, if you're alive with it, and if you're that warm body to receive God, and God can work through your fingertips and your smile, like it doesn't matter the physical action that you're doing. It doesn't matter if you're doing it with the frequency of God, of love and above. You're good.
Ani, any last?
Yeah.
things?
What we can do practically is I really encourage people to learn authentic Kabbalah and Hasidus, because that helps and is, I think, crucial for the frequency shift internally and for downloading the map and the terminology of how reality actually works. And there's so much available, basics available in English and literally every language, because we're all primed now to start to get those downloads. And so learning Hasidus and priming ourselves through authentic Jewish mysticism, that's the way to go. That's how we go into Geula with Rachamim. That's how we go in the just most straight, merciful path.
Yeah, Shimon Bar Yochai said that about this, about
exactly.
Kabbalah originally,
that
to be redeemed in mercy. Yeah, so I'll just add to that those two great, one about frequency, one is about transforming consciousness, and I think the other thing is, we are in an incredible place obviously there's more healing, releasing trauma, there's so many things, but we're in an incredible time in the world, not only because of events, but technology, the fact that we can all get together like this, it's bizarre. It's insane. So everybody can be part of, I just opened a Telegram group. Gila has a Telegram group. Ani has a WhatsApp group. Maybe some of you have platforms. Like the more we can vibrate with God frequency, and the more we can learn God consciousness and really integrate and download it, the more we automatically have the capacity to share with the world and to spread that light. Because this, the foundational thing is, and back to what Gila said, we're in a war, but the main way to win the war is not fighting against, but shining into. Like they say, like Hasidus says, a candle will light up, a little bit of light pushes away a lot of darkness. A candle will light up a dark room. And so everybody here is a candle. And everybody's soul, the Torah actually calls the soul a candle. So everybody can take responsibility, not in a heavy way, not in a should way, but you're in the center of the universe in your own world. And what are you going to do with that? How are you going to up-level yourself and up-level your consciousness and then up-level your communication so that you're shining light into this crazy space where everyone's battling it out. And that's how we win the war really, really, really quickly with miracles.
Amen.
Yeah. Amen.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, guys. I hope we can do it again soon. It seems like we need to like have a weekend together or something, which also
I'm so down. I'm so down.
Yeah, now that that came out of my mouth. Okay, but this is a good way to start. All right.
Okay,
Have
good.
a wonderful day, everybody. Please share these if you like it and find value. Please share with your friends. Help us build. Okay. Bye.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye-bye.